I knew numbers, but I didn't know cost of goods sold, like what that entailed. So I had to really teach myself, and I made all the mistakes. I had a ton of inventory. I had like raw materials that were sitting there. Wasn't sure what to do with those. I have still a patent pending on my product. I thought handbags, I like handbags. Like, sure, let's try that. That's not saturated. No. Handbags, how hard could that be, right? To like get into that space. So I decided to solve a problem that I saw in the industry or in the space of handbags, and thought, put up my website, build a Shopify site, put it out there. And of course, if I build it, they will come. How hard can that be? Hard.
Do you have a brilliant product idea but don't know where to start to get it made? Or are you looking to level up your product but afraid to take it overseas?
If so, you're in the right place. Hi, I'm Jackie.
And I'm Erin, and we are
The Sourcing Gals,
your trusted guides to everything you need to know about sourcing, manufacturing, and scaling your product overseas. Whether you are just starting out or you've been making your own product for a while, we are here to help women source products overseas without the overwhelm.
In each episode, we'll share insider tips, actionable strategies, and inspiring stories to help you source more effectively, save time, and boost your profits. Duh! We know how hard it can be to juggle the ins and outs of product development, but don't worry, we've got your back.
So grab a cup of coffee, get comfy, and let's dive into how you can grow your business,
make more money,
and turn your products into profit. Welcome to The
Sourcing Gals. Now let's get started. High five.
Hi. Welcome to this episode of
The Sourcing Gals.
Today, we're joined by someone who knows firsthand what it takes to build and grow a business from the ground up.
She is a former corporate executive turned serial entrepreneur and now the founder of the Carlyn Bushman Consulting and Pop Academy.
Carlyn helps women to uncover their passion, identify their expertise, and turn those strengths into sustainable revenue streams.
We are so excited to learn from her wealth of experience in marketing, management, technology, and business financials.
Welcome to the Sourcing Gals, Carlyn.
Oh, it's so great to be here. Thank you so much, Jackie and Erin, for inviting me onto your show. This is so exciting. I am a huge fan, so I'm ready to dive into our interview today. This will be great.
You're so sweet. And fun fact, I was on your podcast. Gosh, I mean, it was quite a few moons ago when I had first launched my business. And so now tables have turned and I get to interview you. And this is so fun for today.
I keep meaning to listen to that.
Please.
Well, and you both will have to remind me that I'm the guest and not the interviewer, because I have a tendency to like flip the tables and start asking you guys questions too. So just remind me about that.
We're here for it.
That.
We'll just go back and forth, and we will learn more about each other, and the audience will learn more about everyone.
I love it.
Amazing.
Okay, let's start with a fun icebreaker here. So we would love to hear, Carlyn, from you. What founder inspires you right now?
Good question.
Oh, right. Great question. Okay. So this is something that I've been really thinking about and really studying lately. David Rogier would be like an amazing collaboration or an amazing inspirational founder. I listened to his story a lot on several podcasts recently, and he's got a great story, and it's all about education. And for me, educating founders is incredibly important. So I look to him and everything he's accomplished with Masterclass. I suppose that I should say he's the founder of Masterclass. That would be helpful. Yeah. And my apologies if I've mispronounced his last name, but I really enjoyed learning more about him as a person, which I think is really important when you think about the founders and a founder's story. So I've learned about him as a person, and with that, where his background and his inspiration came from. And to me, inspiration, like there's a ripple effect there, right? He inspires me, and he was inspired by somebody else very important in his life, and that is his grandmother.
I'm going to have to look him up because I don't know anything about him. Like, of course I know what Masterclass is.
Yes, love Masterclass.
I've taken several of the wine tasting Masterclasses, which are very fun. But I don't know anything about his story in particular. What kind of turned you on to learning about him? Or is there any did you read a book? You said podcast. How did you learn more about him?
Well, first, Erin, I have to say, I love that you tied fun and education together. So what he's created is a beautifully curated educational platform where we can learn from incredible experts and they make it fun. And I think there's something to be said about that. So his story is his grandmother, and I want to make sure I get this correct, but his grandmother was at the concentration camp Auschwitz, and she immigrated over to the US. So she survived and she immigrated over to the US, and she really studied in the medical space, and she wanted to become a doctor, and she kept like showing up and, you know, going through the process of becoming a doctor. And I mean, all of this is like incredible, right? You hear about these incredible stories of perseverance and not giving up, and it's quite like, it gives me the chills. It was so amazing. And I learned about a lot of this through podcasts. Yes, just like we're on today, learning other people's stories through podcast as I'm going about my life. And I found that it was a really nice way to hear his voice talk about his grandmother. And to cut to the chase, her advice to him was she kept getting no, 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 no. Like we all know as founders, this happens. And the one thing she instilled in him was, you know, you can have everything taken away from you, but they cannot take away your education. Mm-hmm. And it was really important that he heard from her that no matter what, you cannot have somebody take away your education, which is so true. And that is why he developed Masterclass. So it is all based on that one statement from his grandmother. Fun fact, his corporate, like S Corp or whatever he's filed as, the name on the paychecks to all his employees is his grandmother's name.
Oh my goodness. How sweet. What really an homage.
Cool. Yeah, that's awesome.
Something that I thought of while you were saying that about no one can take away your education made me think about the fact that all three of us here have gone from a corporate career to a career in educating others. And how sometimes when you make that leap, when you jump from something corporate where like the Rolodex belongs to somebody else, the computer systems, your computer itself, like you're leaving this world and you're kind of like out on a limb. You're kind of out on your own. You don't have the support system you once had, but you do have your knowledge.
Yeah.
And that knowledge is something that I think we've all taken and turned it over into a way to help empower people who don't have it. And so that just like came to me while you were talking. And I think it's powerful because you came from an industry, a corporate industry that really gave you your kind of purpose in why you teach others. Do you want to talk a little bit about that jump for yourself?
Sure. And it's so interesting because I was talking to somebody else over the last couple of days, and it's kind of the same. I don't want to say the same story, but a lot of times it's like, oh, I was in corporate. Now I'm doing this on my own. I was in corporate. I'm doing this on my own. Like we hear that consistently, right? But it's all those nuggets that you're talking about, Erin, on what you bring from corporate. And I don't know about the two of you, but there's times where I'm sitting here and I'm doing something. Like last night, I was really diving into a spreadsheet and figuring out some different formulas and how I can explain numbers and cost of goods sold and P&Ls just a little better. And then all of a sudden it like dropped in and I'm like, oh my gosh, that felt like a Rolodex in my brain. Like I had a filing cabinet. It went way back to my corporate days. And I'm like, oh, hold on. I do know about that. Right. So it's interesting when that structure is put in place and you repeat it and you repeat it and you repeat it. And I think that's part of education too, is, you know, it's just like going to the gym. If you hear something once or you go to the gym one day, you're not going to get 6-pack abs like the next day. Like, yes, that would be amazing, but that's not reality, right? So same with education. When you learn it, then you repeat it, then you repeat it, then you practice it, whatever the it is, putting in the reps. That's what happened to me when I was working on these spreadsheets. I'd been in that space for so long, I kind of forgot about like this one particular thing. And then it dropped in, but it's because I had put in the reps for so many years in that structured setting.
Yeah, it's like every time I go to do a VLOOKUP and then I Google it and I'm like, oh yeah, I do know how to do this.
So I know Carlyn, you from Pop Academy, right? Which we'll talk about. I also know you have your own product-based business. So I'm assuming your corporate world, was it something like ours where you came from corporate retail? Like what is your background in corporate? What was that to then leap to doing, I think your handbag company was what came out next, right? After you left corporate?
Yes. How silly was that, right? I was at Stryker for over a decade, and that's healthcare. That's
Oh,
healthcare.
wow.
That's devices.
Healthcare. I had no idea, Carlyn, that you were not coming out of, I made an assumption, I guess, that since most of your businesses now are more in the product-based world. Okay. So that's super interesting.
Right. So, I mean, there is some product in Stryker, right? We have the medical devices, the instruments and things like that. So there is a little bit of that, but let's be real. Like, no, I was more in the receivables space, like really working with like a lot of numbers, cash flow for the company, stuff like that. And I left corporate, and went right into consulting for physicians. So what I knew was healthcare, and what I knew was cash flow from operations and how to really make sure doctors were making money for the services they were doing. Like that was really near and dear to my heart. So I served in that consulting space for physicians for quite some time, and stepped out of that because I have 4 kids. And
I did not know you had 4 kids.
I did not know you had 4 kids either,
Yes.
Carlyn. This is all, wow. Okay.
4 kids is a lot. I'm one of 4. That's a lot of kids.
It's a lot of kids. It's a lot of kids. And stepped into those delightful middle school and teenage years. So spent more time with the kids and decided, let's just start a product-based business. How hard can this be? This cannot be that hard. I can source. I can figure this out. I didn't even know what the word sourcing probably meant. Let's be clear. I knew numbers, but I didn't know cost of goods sold, like what that entailed. So I had to really teach myself, and I made all the mistakes. I had a ton of inventory. I had like raw materials that were sitting there. Wasn't sure what to do with those. I have still a patent pending on my product. I thought handbags, I like handbags. Like, sure, let's try that. That's not saturated. No. Handbags, how hard could that be, right? To like get into that space. So I decided to solve a problem that I saw in the industry or in the space of handbags, and thought, put up my website, build a Shopify site, put it out there. And of course, if I build it, they will come. How hard can that be? Hard.
Super
Yeah,
hard.
we
We talk about that a lot, actually, on this podcast.
We do.
Like a lot, actually, that the product is just one. It's a very important component, but it is
just one component.
One component of running a business.
So you started a handbag company to solve a problem, not because you had this like super love of like luxurious style.
Well, I do like a good handbag.
Also,
let's just be
that.
honest.
Yes. I'll never say no to a good handbag.
What was this problem you were solving then? I love, again, products that serve a purpose. It sounds like you're hinting that there is something more to this company you started.
Right. So lean in. So I am taller, and I'm 5'8", and most crossbody bags, I'm a crossbody bag fan because of a lot of reasons. I need my hands free. I go to concerts and sporting events,
You have those 4 kids.
Yes, 4 kids, juggling things all the time, right? Running around. I like to just like have it as no nonsense, no matter where I'm going. And I developed a crossbody. Actually, the chain is the key to the product. So the chain is aluminum, titanium, metal blend, and it is the longest adjustable chain in the industry. I think it's roughly 44 inches. It's been a minute since I've talked about this. So it's roughly 44 inches, and it's fully adjustable to any size. So for me, crossbody bags would always hit me at that weird space, right? Even what's trending when they're shorter, I couldn't always find a crossbody bag that would like fit me there. But for the most part, I needed something that could adapt to, like, let's say you're pregnant, right? You need it to be a little longer, hence hands-free for when you're pregnant, right? Or let's say you're on crutches, right? Like, what if you're on crutches? You need a crossbody bag for that, right? Because you're not going to be able to carry a lot. Let's say you're big or busted. Okay. Crossbody bags aren't always flattering or feel comfortable with bigger busted. So a whole bunch of different reasons that I was getting really frustrated with my choices in crossbody. So the handbag itself is kind of like the cracker, and the chain is more like the cheese, because you can take my chain and put it on any bag you have. It's fully adaptable to any bag, any handbag you might have. But in order to sell the chain, I needed the cracker. So in order to have the cheese, I needed a delivery system, and that was the handbag. So I created the handbag to show this is what I'm solving. And I loved it. I loved it. I'll have to send the two of you
Yes,
a gift of the
I
handbag
need one of
chain.
these chains.
I was going to say
Yes.
that for different reasons for us, we're both very short. And so some crossbody bags like hit my leg when I'm walking and because they're so long.
Yes, it goes both ways. Okay, so now we're hearing about your product-based business, right? So you've gone from healthcare to crossbody bags, which I just love that. And I just love for our listeners to hear like that Carlyn didn't actually have experience necessarily in this, again, manufacturing corporate retail world. But what she did have was a great background in finance and understanding the inner workings of the business. So I just think for our listeners, like understanding you don't need to have it all. You know, it's like you're going to bring your experience into whatever business you're doing. And then you figure out the rest, right? You find the right people, you find the right products, you find the right information that's out there that we talk about a lot to then propel you forward.
And the reason I love that story too is because so many people do come to us and they're not in the product space. They're not in the fashion space. They're not coming to us from the angle of, I've worked in retail all my life and now I want to have my own product line. Like that's not it. It's usually people who are solving a problem, nurses, doctors, folks who have kids with special needs, or they're all usually coming to their idea because of a problem they've had in life.
Yeah, personal experience. So, okay, so you have this amazing, business that you've launched, lots of learnings with that. And then I know you also have a very successful consulting and education platform as well. So how did that evolve? What was the journey from going from your product-based business to saying, okay, now there's something else I want to be, leaning into?
Well, I'm sure you can relate, right? So we go to these trade shows, we go to these trunk shows, you show up and talk to your customers, you talk to other vendors, whatever the case might be. So I would show up and do the thing, right? Put up my booth, like carry all my stuff. I know, I'm sure everyone can relate as we close into like different times of the year. Like let's use Q4 as an example, all the holiday pop-up markets. Like you do what you got to do to get out there and be visible. Of course, grab social content, all the fun things. And I would find myself at these pop-ups or at these trade shows or at these trunk shows selling my bag and chain system that I really did love and use. And I'd be talking to these other entrepreneurs, these other women, and talking to them about their product. And the best part about what I get to do every day, all day, literally did this yesterday, is listen to these incredible ideas and why they started these products and where their passion is. And then I'd look at, okay, how are you making money? I would want to get into really helping them and unpacking where their financials might be, where their cost of goods, like a good spreadsheet. Spreadsheets are my love language. I was up late last night working through one that I think could use a little tweaking. And I love doing that. So I'd find myself really leaning in and loving these conversations with other founders and then helping problem solve whatever it might be, looking at their data or their KPIs or, making decisions based on some of those things. And then I would literally not be at my own booth. Like I would have somebody else there and I'm like, you just talk to these others about the actual product. I'm over here wanting to help this whole group, like maybe solve a problem or give them, support where I made mistakes or whatever it was. So I'm like, wait a second. I'm really loving doing this. And that's
Carlyn,
when I leaned
Virgo?
into it. No, I'm a Libra.
Oh,
Interesting, right? Hey, I just heard though, you guys, that whole astrological sign system might be off by a little bit. I literally just heard this on a podcast or I read a story because of the way the moon and there was a gap in timing on this. I don't know. It's a thing. So
wow. Send it over to me because my husband's a Leo and that never quite matched up for me. But all that to say that Virgos usually just love giving advice and solving problems for others. So that's why I jumped to that. But anyway, I think that's so funny that you're at a show, you're selling your thing and you're just diving in with other founders to help them with their problems that you had encountered and you had overcome.
Yeah. And making it fun, right? Let's go back to fun and education. I am all about, and I know you guys are too. This is why we have such great alignment. No gatekeeping. Like if I know it, you're going to know it. If I hear something and it makes sense and I've vetted it, I'm going to share it immediately. If I've studied it, you're going to have it right away. Like the sooner I can get the information out to any founders through mistakes I've made or information I've uncovered, or even just sharing some of the things we talked about today, the better. It gives me so much joy to do that. So let's do that and let's keep it fun. We talked about fun and education. I like to have good looking spreadsheets. I'll be honest, like, let's not make them super dry. Like, how can we make this more fun?
Yeah, let's get some formatting in there.
Yeah, some pretty colors. I love it. I love a good color in a spreadsheet. So let's talk about, now that let's talk about Pop Academy, like really what the platform is, what you've built. And I'd love to also have you dive into some of the common, I don't want to say mistakes, but like struggles that some of the product-based entrepreneurs that you are working with, when they're coming into Pop Academy, what is that building for them? And then what are some of the first things that you're kind of tackling with these product-based entrepreneurs to kind of rejigger, get things back in alignment? Like what do you see?
I think there's a couple things that I'd love to lean into here. I think, first of all, consistent sales. I think one of the biggest things, and there's the reason I'm saying this, there's different businesses in the product space that have seasons, right? Seasonality to their product. It might be between launches, right? And I come from, like, I love sports and I've done sports my whole life. So there's shoulder seasons, right? If you look at the ski space, like if you're into skiing, right, you go to the mountain towns and they have what's called a shoulder season, which is where the summer ends and before the ski season starts, right? So businesses, product businesses, I look at have somewhat of a shoulder season, right? What are you going to do in between new launches, or is your product really seasonal, right? And really figuring out how to have consistent sales 12 months of the year. Like, what does that look like? Now, you're going to have peaks and valleys, of course, but let's make the valleys a little less and continue to strive towards those peaks and make those even better. So I think consistent sales becomes like a really big topic of what I teach inside of Pop Academy, which is all live teaching. And Pop Academy stands for progress over perfection. So let's just make progress.
That's like one of my favorite sayings, Carlyn, and I did not connect that. That makes so much sense, but I also love that it's not Progress Over Perfection Academy, that it's Pop Academy. Like, it's so good. It's so good.
It's got that little bit of like fun and
yes, your fun factor. I love it.
Yes, the fun factor for sure. And that's what we have. It's live teaching inside Pop Academy. The next one starts October 1st. And I just do it twice a year. It's like a college semester almost, where I teach it. I have office hours. I'm available for anyone in the class. I review homework. It's literally putting things into action while you're in class. I've had people launch their businesses while they've been in class, which has been incredible. So I think the consistent sales is big. The second thing that is really big is getting your pricing right. And I know we've talked a lot about your cost of goods.
Yes.
And don't forget about your product has to pay for your salary. Your product has to pay for your marketing. Your product has to pay for your computers and your office space and your 3PL and all the things. So getting your product pricing right to make profit is really important. Really
so important. If you're not getting profit, then you have an expensive hobby. That's
yep.
Yeah. Or as some call it, you're a tourist, right? You're a tourist, or you have an expensive hobby for sure. So I think a great rule of thumb right out of the gates is, and I used this yesterday, if your landed cost, if you can't take that landed cost times 5, and that's just like a blanket starting point. Now that might seem super aggressive.
No,
but it's one way to look at it, right? Because then you might be able to wholesale that product. It's going to cover your G&A. It's going to cover your marketing. It's going to cover Shopify discounts if you're going to in Shopify, which we know there's a little nugget there, by the way. It's going to cover those things. So that's like a good starting point.
Awesome. Really appreciate that.
That's really the same, very close to the same
math
formulas that we give folks too.
Yeah. Can you explain, you threw an acronym out there that was actually new to Aaron and myself when we talked a couple of days ago, Carlyn, G&As. Explain what breaks out underneath that. Because again, it's an acronym that from corporate retail background, we don't use that. But as a business owner, it's very important. And we didn't correlate that this meant that. So can you explain that a little bit for our audience?
Right, Jackie, great question, because we do throw around these acronyms. If you've come from corporate, I'm always like P&L, DSO, G&A, and I think, oh, wait, hold up. Let's run this back a little bit more. And it's only because those acronyms keep evolving. So I talked a little bit yesterday about AEO and GEO, which is AI driven SEO, right? So there's so many things, and that's why it's so important for me to educate as much as possible. G&A is general and administrative. So when you're looking at your profit and loss statement that you get from your accountant or your QuickBooks or your HoneyBooks, there's a section that's called operating expenses.
Yep.
In essence, that's your general and administrative. So these are the expenses that are all in one spot, such as they're not your cost of goods. They are outside of that. They are your marketing. It is your continuing education. It is your travel expenses. It is your computers, your rental space, your retail space. All of that stuff is in your general and administrative. So it's a really important space to keep an eye on how much that can fluctuate and the impact that makes on your bottom line.
I was just talking with Bailey, my head of marketing, about this the other day, that making sure that you're scrubbing that also pretty consistently, right? I mean, how many apps have we, signed up for that were, maybe only $5.99 or $10.99, or maybe some that were $19.99. And like all of a sudden we started using it, realized it's not great for us. Like, are you unsubscribing? Like, are you canceling out all of those things? So literally that's, a lot of that falls in there too, in regards to just making sure you're checking that every single expense that's going out of the bank account is truly worth it. So that was something that randomly we were talking about yesterday. We need to do another scrub of it. So
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Good. Okay. So Carlyn, if we think about Pop Academy, who is, and I don't want to say an ideal, customer, because I know there's a lot of different founders at different phases of life, but in their business journey, but who would benefit from Pop Academy? What kind of founders are coming in and leaving with, all the amazing value that you provide to them? Where do they need to be for that to align?
Like I said, you have to have a product. So you have to have a product, and you have to be in that manufacturing space already, right? It doesn't mean you can't revisit your manufacturer and have another conversation, but the back of the napkin sketch, you're not ready for Pop Academy. Like, you actually need to have a Shopify store. We talk so much about Shopify analytics, tools, of course, AI, our little friend Sidekick. We talk a lot about actually getting in the weeds, but it's really hard to do if you don't have a Shopify store. So I think number one, be beyond the back of the napkin drawing or sketch of what you want your product to be. You have to have a manufacturer already in place. And of course, that's your space, right? If you have one that you like, dislike, need improvements on, that's something that they would talk to you about. Secondly, you can be pre-launch. So if you have that in place, like I said, I've had businesses, students come through Pop Academy. We literally had their first launch during Pop Academy, which is so great because everybody's pouring into them and they're learning, and it's just accelerating their opportunities to have a really great launch. So if you're pre-launch, that's okay. Like, that's great, actually. And then I would say mid six figures. Because I have a lot of businesses that are like, okay, we've done this for 3 years. We've really grown, but we're sort of plateaued. Or the first 18 months, friends and family bought all of our product and everybody's supporting us. And now we're sort of, what next? That's a great place to come into and do just a grounding exercise with Pop Academy.
Awesome. So now that our listeners know kind of what Pop Academy has to offer, which is a lot of things, and actually I'm excited to maybe, pop myself into the Academy this fall for Piper and Mint. I feel like you've talked about tech a lot, and you talked about a little bit with tech and AI in this conversation, but I know you and I have had other conversations about all the amazing tools that are out there. And I know you kind of nerd out on tools like we do in systems. So I would let's chat about a couple favorite AI tools that you are loving for your business owners.
Okay. So this is something, first of all, if you have Shopify, like, use all of its features and benefits. Yes, we can use GPT, ChatGPT or Perplexity or Claude, right? There's a whole bunch, Gemini, right? We can use all those AI features. But hello, if you're a product-based business, go into Shopify. This is crazy. A lot of people don't know about this, and it's been out for a bit. And I feel like I want to give feedback to Shopify that they can make it a little more obvious. If you go into the upper right-hand corner of your Shopify homepage, right? And you look, and there's the icon that shows notifications. And those are the notifications that like, oh, don't forget to update this, or your payment method needs to be updated, or
ones we
all those
ignore a lot.
notifications. Yeah. And you're like, okay, later. The one right next to it, literally to the left of the little bell sign, looks like a little like robot head almost. And that's called Sidekick. You click open Sidekick, and guess what? Like, I was on it this morning. You can ask Sidekick anything. So I'm doing a presentation today, and I went in to say, Sidekick, can you help me understand how to make, where do people leave my website? Like, I have a website. Where do most of my customers fall off before converting? Guess what? Shopify is full of that data, by the way.
Oh my goodness.
Other updates. So you can go in, you can ask Sidekick anything. Can you tell me all of my purchase, like all my customers who have purchased in the last 60 days who live in the state of Texas or something? And it will give you that report. And then it will recommend other reports or other information that you might find helpful. It's easy to go down a rabbit hole, but I'm telling you, use what Shopify is giving you as the best tool, because it truly knows your business. You're using it every day.
That's amazing, because it would take you like 6 or 7 clicks around and then back and then forward to get to that spot on your own. But also with it giving you the additional information, it's feeding you knowledge that you may not know to ask.
And I love that you can then, it made me think like, I will go in there and ask it, what are other people asking that I should be, right? Even if you don't even know that, sometimes where it's like, you don't know where to start. It's like, well, ask it, like, where do I start? Like, I have an e-commerce business, my revenue, like find opportunities where we can be improving upon things, right? And like, show me all the different ways. So I love that. I know my project for this afternoon.
Well, I was thinking the same thing, because I don't run on Shopify. I run on a different platform, and I'm like, I think I need to move.
Yeah, I think you need to move over. I think you do. Shopify's awesome.
Well, and I just want to also add to that, because what you said is you don't know what you don't know. You don't know what to ask it. So here's a prompt I want to give everyone, whether you're on GPT, like ChatGPT or Perplexity or Claude. When you put a prompt out there, so let me say, give me the customers over the last 60 days who have purchased, my products from Texas, just as an example, because we all know segmenting is really important, right? But then before you just hit enter, always ask on any AI platform, do you have any questions for me that would help you answer this better?
That's great.
Use that as a prompt wherever you are, because it will come back to say, yes, I need more information on XYZ, whatever that might be. Or it could just say no, but who cares? Treat it as if you're literally working with somebody next to you to say, here's a project and I'd love to get this information. Do you have any questions for me that would help you, be more like research this just a little bit deeper? And it will ask you questions. And I'm always blown by what questions it asks me, because I'm like, I didn't even think about that. That's a great question.
That is. I'm sold. I'm gonna look into it. But to move on with our podcast in the meantime, because I'll bookmark that in my brain. I would love to know from your perspective what some of like the key financial habits are of some of the thriving businesses that you work with.
I think the thriving businesses really do continue to work through understanding and having good financial acumen. And by that, I mean, when you set out some of these things, they're very laser focused. So you can only do so much. Like, we can do anything. We just can't do everything. So when I look at working on budgeting and forecasting for the upcoming timeframe, whether that's the quarter, the month, the year, whatever that looks like, we're really laser focused on what what are those strategies for that particular time frame? How are we going to get to those goals? This kind of follows the 10x is greater than 2x, right? So we really look at everything goes through that filter. So if I want to get to a certain revenue amount or visibility or email growth, email list growth, or whatever that is, the founders that I see really thrive stay super focused in that space and decide, I'm going to put time, money, and energy into these 2 or 3 strategies for the upcoming time frame. And we're going to measure those and we're going to stay consistent in measuring those. And if it's not going to, if something comes and lands on my plate and it doesn't align with that particular strategy, then it goes into the parking lot, that shiny object parking lot, for maybe another time for review. So I really see the thriving entrepreneurs in this space stay very focused and diligent on what is on their plate and what doesn't need to be on their plate today to get them to those goals so they can see movement in their business. And it's really, really fun to watch. It's really hard to do though.
That's fantastic. Fantastic advice. I do find myself, even in a given day, not in a season or a year, but in a given day, sometimes, like you said, you can go down a ChatGPT rabbit hole, getting off base on this or that, or look over here, look over there. And I sit and I look at my computer screen and I say, stop, Erin. I'll say that out loud to myself. Erin, stop. What are you supposed to be doing right now? I'm like, okay, back to what the focus is supposed to be.
Yeah. And there's so much newness coming out every single day on different ways to run your business, different platforms, different this, right? So it's hard not to just keep hopping to what you think is the next best, right? So you're saying if there's things that are working, like what that doubling down, and that is that focus, staying focused on it. And also, I'm just going to mention, because Carlyn said it, 10x is easier than 2x. We literally got off a Zoom call right before we were chatting with you, Carlyn, speaking with 2 other founders of a new business. And we recommended that book to them. So I'm going to tell the audience members too, for those that are at a place where you already have your idea and you're actually working through, and this could be any business. This could be a service-based business. This could be a product-based business, really any business. I swear it is a game changer of a book. Dan Sullivan is a genius. If you don't know him, look him up. His entire series is amazing.
Yes.
And I know it's a framework that Erin and I come back to time and time again. And Carlyn, I know you're a big fan as well. So I'm just putting that in there for our listeners. 10x is easier than 2x. We'll link it in the show notes.
Yeah, we will. They're short-ish listens.
Yeah,
they're maybe 5 hours on Audible. So,
and I love the Audible version because at the end of it, there's actually, which is another great learning that Dan Sullivan gives, is Who Not How, another book where how to leverage people, right? Like you stay within your skills and talents and you leverage it out. And so the gentleman that's actually writing the books on behalf of Dan interviews Dan himself at the end of each chapter. So I actually prefer the Audibles because we also, Erin and I love a good book. So we own all the books as well for our library. But sorry, not to digress, but it's a great series and highly recommend the Audible. So.
And to your point, that goes back to education, right? So you're educating
100%.
yourself, and then repetition. So I don't know about you, but I too listen to the Audible version and I'm like, I need to listen to that again.
Oh, yes.
So
Yes.
I do it again. It's like, let's run it back because there's clearly things I've missed and that's okay. Like, okay. And we're going to listen to that again. I've listened to podcasts more than once because I'm like, I need that to sink in just a little bit more because all of a sudden I'll find myself like looking at like, my list of to-do items or something like that. I'm like, wait, hold up. I'm supposed to be listening to this right now. So
Yeah.
I think a lot of that goes back to what I said in the beginning. And that is, your education, making it fun and it can't be taken away from you.
Yeah. And there was another book that I listened to recently where I think it's Think Like a Millionaire, or that one. I think I've sent you that one before, but where he actually says, as you're building a business, like part of your income, I think he had 10% of it should be reinvested into education, right? Whether that's coaching, whether that's, again, continued platforms, education like yours, Carlyn, right? Like that investment in yourself, in learning, continued learning is not a nice to have. Like it's a necessary, like it's a must have if you want to keep leveling up, whether it's, again, personal life, business. I mean, it could be for any of those categories.
For anything.
He literally carved out, I think 10% of your living expense should literally be funded into expanding yourself.
I think it's my personal kind of perspective though, that there are people who are like born learners who will chase that rabbit to the point where then they're never taking action, which is actually going to lead me right on back to Pop Academy. Because you said that you review people's homework with them and you have office hours, and that keeps people out of that loop of just learning. And we talk to a lot of people even who come to us who have gone down a YouTube rabbit hole or a podcast rabbit hole or books about building a product, but they never actually take the first step.
Yeah.
And so part of that learning is also like, okay, I'm going to put the learning down for a sec and I'm going to take some action.
Yeah. And accountability, right? Like and some people are great on their own, and people like myself, I need an accountability partner. That's
an accountability buddy.
Yeah. I like that. You're my accountability buddy. Now we're getting nutty here, but I love that. I love, again, what you're bringing with Pop Academy, how you're helping product-based entrepreneurs and founders get in, learn their business, find what's working, expand on that, in a greater way. So I think it's where can people find you? If they're like, okay, this sounds like something that I'm jiving with, this feels like alignment, my business is checking some of these, checking the boxes here. Where can they find you? Where can they learn more about the Academy? Where can they learn more about your consulting services? All the things.
Well, I like to keep things really simple, right? So Carlyn Bushman Consulting, across my website, all social platforms. You can always find me from TikTok to LinkedIn to Instagram, Carlyn Bushman Consulting. So it's really straightforward. There is a dedicated portion of my website to Pop Academy specifically. So yes. And for me, again, you can always message me. I do read all my messages, and it's really important to me to be able to serve this community and help all these product-based businesses really level up and figure out where there might be gaps. And now you're off to the races. And I truly am teaching from my heart, and everything that, like I said, I learn because it's evolving, which is why I teach it live, right? Because it evolves so fast. AI is evolving so fast. Like, let's take advantage of that right now in the moment. And that's what I'll be teaching through all of my curriculum, is what's new and what's happening today. So yeah, it's so much fun.
That's awesome. Well, we really appreciate you taking time. I know you're getting ready to have the Academy launch here shortly in just a couple weeks. So we appreciate the time, all the knowledge. We're going to definitely be looking up our sidekick on Shopify, all of us, and asking chat those additional questions as well at the end of any of our prompts. Those are great nuggets of information.
And I'm going to dig into the masterclass founder and learn more about his story. I loved that too.
Yeah, it's awesome. Well, thank you guys for joining us. We've told you where to find Carlyn. And for those that are loving our episodes, please be sure to like, share, and follow along. We also have an email list, so be sure to subscribe. We're sending out pertinent information every week based on the amazing podcast, interviews that we're having, any platforms, education, new knowledge that we have. We're trying to make sure that we're getting that shared out to you, our audience members. So thank you all for listening. And until next time on
The Sourcing Gals.